Coming up on Oregon News, an update on the Kilauea eruption and what, if anything, it means for the Pacific Northwest. In sports, a softball star from Eugene prepares to join the Ducks next year, and a special look at the distribution efforts of a life-saving drug in the Eugene community. All this and more coming up on Oregon News.
Hello and welcome to Oregon News. I'm Lorna.
And I'm Jillian Smuckler. The volcanic eruption that started over a month ago on the island of Hawaii continues to threaten lives. And today, authorities are telling people to evacuate or get arrested. Kylie DeVries has more.
It started as a magnitude 5 earthquake that turned into this, a series of explosive eruptions on the southeastern side of the island of Hawaii, causing lava flows that burned through thousands of acres of land and destroyed dozens of homes and roadways. While some people have listened to the evacuation orders, others have decided to stay. Wendy Mahai is a student here at the University of Oregon. She is from Oahu, but has family on the Big Island of Hawaii. They have evacuated, but their home is right in the path of the lava flows.
The lava hasn't hit my auntie's house yet, but it's like on its way. So I'm not sure if it'll go around or if it'll just cover it. But I'm hoping it'll go around, hoping it will. But it's kind of just like up to her, like what she wants to do.
Her being Pele, the fire goddess from Hawaiian folklore. Lila Mayo, who is visiting Eugene from Hawaii, says there is one way to appease Pele.
Hawaiian families know, like, if you open up your house to her and like you clean your house and you like leave offerings, like she won't destroy your house. And like there has been Hawaiian homes that are still there, like the lava went around their houses. Like it's pretty cool. She's real. Like people don't think it's like real, but she's very real.
So you can see that the area affected by the flows.
And the lava in Hawaii has people here in Oregon talking. UO assistant professor in volcanology, Thomas Gaiachetti, says we have our own volcanoes to watch, including Mount St. Helens, Hood, Rainier, Adam, and Newberry.
An eruption, even though it's very spectacular, it's still right now a smallish eruption of Kilauea. It's not because you've got this eruption that you will trigger one in the cascade.
Nevertheless, this lava here should not affect these mountains here. For Oregon resident Wendy Mahai, the fear is real, but she hopes goodwill will come from the lava back home.
A lot of Hawaiians feel that like she's doing that because the ohia plant, like the ohia lehua plant, is like extinct right now. Like there's a disease that like took it all out, and the only way it grows is like from lava rock. So having like the lava like dry up and things like that kind of just like makes room for like that plant to grow again. So that's also like that's why we're like kind of happy, like bittersweet that like the lava's coming, but like we know like when it's all done with, like something really great will like come out of it.
Reporting in Eugene, I'm Kylie DeVries.
Experts with the U.S. Geological Survey say the Hawaiian lava flow could continue for several days or even weeks.
A 15-year-old from Vancouver, Washington has been fined for more than $36 million for starting the Eagle Creek fire in the Columbia Gorge. The unidentified teenager admitted he threw fireworks that triggered the burning of nearly 50,000 acres of timberland over a 3-month period. The teen's lawyer said the penalty is absurd, cruel, and unusual. The restitution will be paid to the Forest Service, the Oregon Department of Transportation, and the people who lost their homes. The teen was also sentenced to 2,000 hours of community service and 5 years on probation. The boy apologized and asked for forgiveness and said he will work hard to help rebuild the community. A Lane County mill burned to the ground this week. The Woodsell Wood Products manufacturing plant just north of Cottage Grove caught fire on Sunday. Firefighters say the building was engulfed within 30 minutes and the massive flames could be seen from a half-mile away. There were no injuries in the fire. Investigators continue to search for the cause of the blaze, though they doubt the fire was intentionally set.
Thanks to a push from members of the community in the First Congregational Church, more housing opportunities might soon be available for low-income families. The City Council has added a new permitted use for residential zoning, which allows churches to build small homes on their property. Those houses would provide affordable housing for families. The new rule would allow up to 800 square foot homes on church property, but only in low-density R1 neighborhoods. Melanie Uman is the Associate Minister at First Congregational Church. She says she loves all the green space Eugene offers, but because the city hasn't expanded its urban growth boundaries, they have to build in, not out, to help families at a time when affordable housing is scarce.
And I think it will bring greater socioeconomic diversity in this community, but also I think for the benefit for the families themselves there's so many amenities, the schools and the parks and the YMCAs in the neighborhood, and there's just proximity to a lot of opportunities.
The First Congregational Church is finalizing its plans with St. Vincent de Paul to create 2 two-bedroom, 1-bath homes on their property off 24th and Potter Streets. Uman says it's a wonderful opportunity to help benefit the community, not just the families they will be helping. Coming up after the break, a look at a drug that has the potential to save opioid addicts from themselves.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, "Read your lease. No pets allowed." My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Members of the Eugene community are taking steps to widely distribute a drug that could potentially save thousands of lives. Sydney Paget reports.
Last year, drug overdoses killed more people than car crashes in the state of Oregon. According to the CDC, Oregon has the 4th highest rate of opioid abuse and misuse in the country. With these alarming statistics in mind, efforts to combat opioid overdose deaths are widespread. One of the most effective tools is naloxone, also known by its trade name as Narcan.
Naloxone can rapidly reverse a heroin overdose or any opiate overdose, depending on the route of administration.
Professor Carnes is a psychology professor at the University of Oregon. She studies the psychoactive effects of various drugs and explains that naloxone acts on the same receptors as heroin.
But unlike morphine or heroin, it doesn't activate the receptor. And it's a very sticky compound. So it binds to these receptors and it really sticks on there and outcompetes the heroin for the spot on that receptor.
Because this tiny vial has the potential to save thousands of lives, community outreach centers like Whitebird Clinic and HIV Alliance are working hard to widely distribute naloxone. Manning Walker is an EMT and crisis worker at the Whitebird Clinic. In the past few months, he has focused on getting naloxone kits to police and fire departments, as well as family members and roommates of known addicts. Though an addict will immediately go into withdrawal after receiving a dose of naloxone, Walker says that naloxone is an extremely safe drug.
There's no risk of any cognitive impairment, there's no risk of any cardiac side effects, there's no risk of any metabolic side effects. Because of that, I think it's something that should be widely distributed to the lay public.
In the future, Walker hopes to see naloxone administration procedures in first aid and CPR training. And with a rapidly growing epidemic, any tool that can prevent opioid overdose deaths is pertinent for our community. Reporting for Oregon News, I'm Sydney Paget.
Naloxone kits are widely available to Eugene residents through the HIV Alliance for $7 to $20 per kit.
Each year, more than 400 Americans die from carbon monoxide poisoning. In the Eugene-Springfield area, firefighters are educating people about ways they can avoid the deadly fumes. Carbon monoxide can be produced by engines, stoves, lanterns, fireplaces, or furnaces, and can be deadly when they are not used in well-ventilated areas. Because it is not visible and does not have an odor, the gas can easily build up indoors and be fatal if no detectors are present. Authorities advise that carbon monoxide detectors be installed outside bedrooms so that sleepers are forced to get up if an alarm goes off.
The Oregon Liquor Control Commission will not be accepting any more applications for licenses to sell marijuana after June 15th. Weed production has boomed in Oregon, as did the number of dispensaries to sell the pot. As a result, Oregon marijuana prices have been decreasing and farmers can't sell their crops. State lawmakers are being asked to look at regulating production next year. Since the spring of 2016, the Oregon Liquor Control Commission reports they have granted almost 1,900 marijuana licenses.
Eugene's Beltline is getting a makeover this summer with up to 90,000 vehicles using the Randy Pape Beltline to commute, the Oregon Department of Transportation decided it was time to update and expand the highway. Tuesday marked the beginning of construction. Work is projected to continue through the end of summer. The $18 million project will improve ramps and bridges as well as repave and repair the Beltline. Work will be concentrated at the Washington-Jefferson Street Bridge segment and Highway 126 between Eugene and Veneta. Drivers can expect single-lane closures and detours in the area.
It just got a little easier to get around Eugene on bikes or by foot. The Beltline I-5 path just opened as a part of Eugene's multi-use path system, connecting parts of Springfield and Eugene. It was built by the Oregon Department of Transportation and taken over by the city of Eugene. The purpose of this pathway is to address Eugene's growing population. Shane McRhodes, the City of Eugene's Transportation Options Coordinator, says the new path is not just making the travel more convenient.
So just having fewer vehicles on the road makes it safe for everyone, and so when we reduce the number of miles that people drive, then we reduce the amount of crashes on our streets as well.
The pathway has been in full use since May 19th, and Mac Rhodes says that he has received positive feedback from the public. The goal for the new path is to decrease air pollution while also bringing the community together. You can download the Eugene Springfield Bike Map on the city's Eugene Transportation website. City officials hope to have the new bike path reflected on Google Maps in the near future. Speaking of transportation, the Peace Health bikes are painting the city of Eugene blue. Peace Health Rides, Eugene's very own bike share program, had more than 3,700 riders in its first month. According to the program officials, the blue rental bikes have averaged about 3 trips per day, surpassing early expectations of 1 trip a day per bike. Riders have already taken over 20,000 trips, totaling more than 28,000 miles. One University of Oregon student, Sarah Thibault, says she likes riding the bikes for a social aspect.
It's a great way to get outside, get some fresh air, and just have a nice stroll with some of your friends.
Program officials also say it's not just students riding the bikes. Single riders non-students have accounted for 35% of the total trips. Bikes are available for rent at 35 self-serve stations around Eugene. It's $1 for 15 cents.
As part of the Hayward Field reconstruction, the University of Oregon plans to build a pedestrian plaza. The city of Eugene has approved closing the road on 15th between Agate and University to allow for the construction of the plaza. It will cause the loss of 115 parking spaces, but the university plans to build a 350-stall garage north of Franklin Boulevard. The university says this renovation will not cause traffic problems. People with concerns about the city's decision can appeal it.
The University of Oregon stirred up a Twitter storm this last week. Carly Bellin reports.
Many University of Oregon students were upset this past week, but not about things here on campus. Instead, they were angry about what they found here
on social media.
In the wake of the tragic death of University of Oregon student Dylan Peters, the Division of Student Life issued a statement about his passing. The final paragraph of that statement read, "As devastating as this sudden passing is, it is important to point out that this tragedy is connected to an unauthorized tradition among many college students. Students from many institutions have a history of demonstrating poor life choices during visits to Lake Shasta." In response, the university's Twitter account was flooded by angry students, parents, faculty, and alumni, letting Oregon know how distasteful they found their choice of words. One of the Twitter responses came from University of Oregon senior instructor Kelly Matthews.
The statement really felt like there was a lot of the UO's agenda baked into it that didn't have anything to do with compassion and didn't have anything to do with the student and his family.
The story attracted a lot of attention after it was picked up by national news sources such as the Washington Post. The Division of Student Life revised the original statement, removing the paragraph that had been called out by many as problematic and insensitive. Matthews says the revision came across as passive.
When you're issuing some kind of apology, you need to take responsibility, you need to take specific responsibility. What did you do? Like, what is the problem? And who is behind the statements?
VP of Student Life, Kevin Marbury, sent out an apology on behalf of the Division of Student Life. In it, he expressed regret over the original choice of words in the first statement. Reporting for Oregon News, I'm Carly Bellin.
Not only did the University of Oregon lose a student, but others lost a friend, brother, and son. Riley Collins shares this tribute to Dylan Peters.
He truly was the most incredible person I've ever known and ever will know. And I can't believe he's gone. But at this point, I'm ready to start trying to just remember the amazing, happy memories I have with him, because I only have good memories with Dylan. No one should have to die like this young. But at the age of 21, Dylan lived his life to the fullest. He traveled around the entire world. That was a big part about Dylan, is he wanted change in the world. Every single person I've talked to said that when they first met Dylan, they knew he was going to be a really good friend of theirs, because he gave off this radiant smile and this infectious personality that people would fall in love with, and that was just who Dylan was.
I've known Dylan as well as the Peters family since kindergarten, and I was lucky enough to stay close with Dylan up until his passing. We got lunch together 2 days before he passed away, and I've got to say that was just the greatest thing ever, because I'll always remember how happy he was telling me about his life. I'm just really glad I got to be with him, and I'm just really lucky to have considered myself one of his best friends.
I'm so glad that although his life was cut off short, he affected so many people in a positive way, and they're never going to forget him. I love Dylan so much. He was the best brother I could possibly ask for, and I wish he was still here and that I could talk to him every day, and I'm going to think about him every single day, and I'll miss him every single day, but I'm going to do everything for him every single day. So.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Good afternoon and welcome to sports. I'm Marc Randy. Let's get started on the softball diamond. After winning consecutive do-or-die games against Kentucky last weekend, the Oregon Ducks softball team advanced to their 4th Women's College World Series in 5 seasons, but are still searching for that elusive national championship. Oregon opened the action in Oklahoma City with a matchup against fellow Pac-12 foe, the Arizona State Sun Devils, a team the Ducks took 2 of 3 from earlier this year, and the Ducks' bats dominated. The Sun Devils scored twice in the first inning off Miranda Elish, but Oregon immediately responded with 2 runs of their own in the first and would score in every single inning except for the second. Freshman Lauren Burke drove in 2 runs in the third with a triple. Haley Cruz smashed her 2nd home run of the season in the 5th, and Shannon Rhodes crushed a 3-run blast for good measure in the 6th. Elish wasn't at her best on Thursday, but the Ducks cruised to victory 11-6. All 11 runs came against Arizona State's Giselle G. Juarez, who landed on the All-American first team on Wednesday. The runs and 14 hits Juarez allowed were both by far season highs for the lefty. Up next for Oregon is a matchup with another Pac-12 team, the Washington Huskies, who beat the 2-time reigning national champion Oklahoma Sooners 2-0 on Thursday. Oregon swept the Huskies in Seattle earlier this season, but Washington beat the Ducks in the World Series last year. Neither team has announced its starting pitcher, but it'll likely pit first-team All-American Megan Kleist against second-team All-American Taryn Alvello. First pitch is set for 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time from OKC. The World Series is double elimination, so Oregon's season would continue even with the loss today, but a win advances the Ducks to Sunday and gives the team a day off tomorrow. From the college level to the high school ranks, another Eugene softball player is making a name for herself. Jillian Smuckler has the story.
I just love it. I love how competitive, I love the teammates, I love everything about it.
You could say softball runs through Abby Doerr's veins. She's a catcher at Marist Catholic High School in Eugene. Her skills as a Spartan were so striking that the coaches down the road at Jane Sanders Stadium came knocking.
It's in our backyard. We get to watch them and how successful they are. And quite honestly, the coaching staff is absolutely incredible.
Abby committed to the Ducks when she was just 14 years old, when she was still in the 8th grade.
They're committed. Are they going to continue to work hard until they're 18? Because that's a 4-year span. Will somebody get hurt? Will they not keep their body in shape? Will they stop loving the game?
Softball is a family affair for the Doers.
Softball is just, it's what we do. It's our life. We have batting cages. I mean, we bring bats and balls everywhere. That's all we do.
And all those swings come from a player almost 30 years ago, Abby's own mother. Missy Doer played for the Ducks back in the 90s as, you guessed it, a catcher.
I mean, I won't tell her that she's better than me right now, but she is better than me.
Missy is also Abby's high school coach. But even though competition runs deep with the Doers, softball is just part of their story.
Abby Doer, go to third. When we're at home, it's not like, I don't talk to her about softball. We don't talk about, good job, of course, like, high five, good job, but we don't talk about, like, what you did and what you should do better. It's just, get on with your daily life.
I just want to become a good person in this society, and that's all I really want.
It's not always about the records, but Abby knows she has a tall mountain to climb when she joins the country's #1 collegiate softball team next year.
I just need to prepare myself the best I can, and I think it's going to be a lot, but I think I can do it.
It's been a long road for the Doers, but Abby's college softball decision has always been about the Ducks.
She told me how much fun she had there, and when my dad was a football player there, and his experience, all the stories he told me, it just sounded so much fun.
And now that she's continuing the family lifestyle in the green and yellow, Eugene is home.
It's priceless to me to give them my daughter and trust them with her because it becomes their family essentially for 4 years.
Jillian Smuckler, Oregon News.
And how about this? Doer was teammates at Marist last year with current Duck Lauren Burke, who doubled and tripled yesterday for Oregon. On to the other diamond, where Oregon baseball entered their 2018 season last weekend. With postseason hopes gone, the Ducks split the first 2 games of their series against the Arizona Wildcats at PK Park. Looking for a series win to close the year, the Ducks started strong but fell short. Let's take a look at how it went down. The Ducks said goodbye to a handful of seniors on Saturday, most notably Kyle Kasser, who finishes top 10 in program history in hits. After Arizona struck first early, Oregon tied things up at 1 run apiece in the second with an RBI single by Jacob Goldfarb. The Ducks then took a lead in the third inning when freshman Johnny DeLuca singled in Spencer Steer with a blooper to center field. 2-1 Oregon at that point. The lead would be short-lived, though. From that point on, it was all Wildcats. Arizona scored 3 times in the 5th inning, with the last 2 runs coming via a line shot double that hopped over the left center field fence off the bat of Nick Quintana. Oregon cut the lead to just 1 in the bottom half, but another Arizona double, this time off the bat of Cameron Cannon, drove in 2 more runs, this time in the 6th inning to give the Wildcats a 6-3 lead. And Arizona wouldn't stop there. They piled it on the Ducks in the late innings. The Wildcats scored again in the 7th and 4 more times in the 8th frame to win the game 11-4 and take the series from Oregon. The loss ends Oregon's season with a 26-29 record, the team's first sub-500 season since 2009, when Oregon went 13-40 in the first year the sport returned to the university. Oregon's 12-18 Pac-12 record is also its worst since 2009. The Ducks' poor record brings head coach George Horton's status for 2019 in question. However, the University of Oregon says Horton will return for the final year of his contract extension signed last offseason, denying a report that the Ducks would not bring him back for the 2019 year. Meanwhile, Oregon Golf's Norman Zhang won the Jack Nicklaus Award yesterday, presented to the top men's golfer. Zhang put together the best individual season in Oregon history, winning 6 titles, doubling the previous record of 3. The sophomore now turns to his pro career after finishing 11th in the NCAA championships. And that will do it for sports. Hey Jesse, how's the weather looking this weekend?
Mark, all throughout Oregon, the weather looks pretty glorious this weekend. Here behind me, you'll see this picture I actually snapped on my way into the studio today because the clear skies are just so beautiful. And we'll see more of that today. A high of 74, dropping down to 46 later this evening and into Saturday. Temperatures warm up to 81, dropping to 50. And we'll see a little bit of clouds rolling in on Sunday, 20% chance of rain. But a nice temperature at 71, dropping to 47 will make for a great sunset. Up in Portland, the weather looks great as well. Temperatures reaching the low 70s today and dropping down to 51 later this evening. You might see a few clouds, but mostly clear skies in Portland today. Tomorrow looks a little bit warmer, reaching the low 80s, and there's no chance of rain, so you probably won't see any clouds up there either. On Sunday, there is still a good chance that those clouds will roll in and cool off that air for us. Bend looking beautiful. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all clouds. We got a high of 72 and a low of 41. Warming up a bit, 84 to 53 on Saturday, and staying around that on Sunday, 82 to 41. Lots of great times in Bend, perfect for hiking. Now, if you're heading to the Strawberry Festival in Lebanon this weekend, you've picked a good time to go because it also looks beautiful there. We've got a high of 72 and 47. 80 and 51 tomorrow, and then 69 and 49 on Sunday with a little bit of clouds rolling in then as well. So if you haven't tried an Oregon strawberry yet, check out the festival and go do so because they are so good and terrific. Back to you guys.
When we return, a look at Caitlyn Jenner's visit to the University of Oregon campus.
Got a quarter?
Caitlyn Jenner visited the University of Oregon this week, but not everyone was happy to see her. Savannah Sear reports.
Through these doors is Caitlyn Jenner and her publicist Alan Neerob discussing public relations strategies exclusively to the students and faculty of the University of Oregon.
The School of Journalism and Communications, also known as the SOJC, hosted the private event titled On Our Own Terms. Students and faculty were invited to sign up for a limited number of tickets to the event, and all the tickets were given out before it was publicly announced that Jenner was even coming to campus. That made others excluded from the event angry. Beck Banks, an SOJC PhD student and a member of the transgender community, could not get a ticket and led a protest outside of the event. Banks felt the SOJC excluded her from participation in planning or attending the event.
It seems very anti-SOJC because it's supposed to be inclusive, and this is setting a different tone.
Bethany Grace Howe is also a SOJC PhD student and also a member of the transgender community. She did help plan the event. Howe says Jenner's visit was aimed at studying a very effective public relations campaign.
She's not here as a transgender woman. She is here as the subject of the most remarkable PR campaign, perhaps, of the early 21st century.
Those inside learned how Neerob used public relation tactics to tell Jenner's story of coming out as a transgender person. Banks hopes there will be better communication from the SOJC in the future and more opportunities to participate in planning such events, including who should be invited to speak to students.
To make sure that there's better programming and that we're putting students above public speakers who have a lot of money. That's what I would like to see.
What I hope people walk away with is what I walked away with, and that is how to control your own narrative.
Reporting for Oregon News, this is Savannah Sear.
That's all for Oregon News. This is our last newscast of the year. Thank you for joining with us.
But before we go, we want to say a huge thank you to our professor and news director, Rebecca Force.
Not only is she our favorite teacher ever, but she's a best friend, mom away from home, and confidant. We're going to miss you so much. We love you.
And we wish you the best in your retirement. Thank you.